Welcome again, everybody. Today we're going to go into some detail on the variable sets that you saw if you watched the prior demonstration. There's two different variable sets included in the public template. One is public map and one is public common variables. And those are the two I just want to cover some details on so you can understand what you're dealing with. Let's start with a little bit of a definition of variable sets. What variable sets are is a common set of variables that you're going to use again and again and again. And in this case, we're using two for our catalog managers. We're using these two variable sets. So that this way they don't have to keep redefining like first name, last name, email address, phone number, or you don't have to keep redefining a map and putting that map inside of every one. You can use these variable sets sort of as like variable templates that you apply to all of your catalog items. All right, now we're going to talk about two of them specifically. The one on the left is what you'll see is the record for the variable set for public map, and the one on the right is the one that you're going to see for public common variables. Now the two variable sets, there's a couple specific things I want to call out on each of them because they're a little bit off of what you would see in a normal variable set with a bunch of string types in them. This is called a custom variable. There's two variable set concepts. The custom variable is inside of our public map variable set. And it allows you to define your own little widget inside of a section of the template. So that's that little section, that widget that's rendering is actually our map that you saw in the last demonstration, and we'll take a look at it again today. So we'll use Esri, and we use an Esri API to call out to Esri and render that map, but also we use it as a data source. So you'll see we're pulling location information from Esri into ServiceNow so that we don't have to maintain a list of every single location that's in that public area that you support. And so we're going to take a look at both of those things and how that works. And then we're also going to look at the catalog UI policies. Now you'll see that there's certain areas where we have the common variables, first name, last name, phone number, email. Certain times you want to see those. For example, if the person's not logged in, we might want to gather as much of that information as they're willing to offer. But if they are logged in, we don't want to show those variables and waste their time. They logged in, we already have that information. So you'll see that in the UI policies, we can do that to rule out the information that we don't need. In our GitHub repository, if you scroll down, you'll see this is the default variable sets. And it tells you a little bit about these variable sets, a lot of what I just explained. But we want to go to your instance in order to get here and log in as an admin user. And then we're going to navigate to the service catalog variable sets. Unlike a lot of the other pieces, the variable sets are not in the public services template. So we want to just look for variable sets. It's another way to get there. And you should see one under catalog variables, variable sets. Now the two that we're looking at, and you'll see here, you should see two variable sets that are part of the public service application. And there's going to be the public map. And if I scroll over, if you wanted to actually expose the application on this, we can come up and you can see that they're actually marked because they're part of our update set. They're part of our application. So it will be part of the public service template application. I can show the matching there and you'll see that those are our two variable sets. Now the first one I want to dig into is public map. If we look at public map, what's unusual about this is that it has a variable on there. So these are all the variables that are in the variable set. And there's a variable set. One is called, it's just a label. It's a map description. And then one is the map itself. And so if we go out and we look at, let me just create a duplicate here. And then you'll be able to see on that catalog item, if we go to one of the catalog items, you'll be able to see the difference between the label and the actual macro. So if you remember, pub is our template, and then we'll open that up, and then I'll go to our default one that we have, that you should all have if you install this already. So if you go to pub, you should see one in there. If you go underneath services, non-emergency services, we should all see report streetlight out. Okay, if I open up report streetlight out, you'll see that I have the map on the top of this. This, where it says select location, that's my label. And then this bottom part is that custom variable. So you'll see here, this is the custom map. Now this is the one that gets kind of interesting. So if I click on map, and the nice part about these variable sets is you can just use them again and again and again. I don't have to keep defining this. But if I open up the map variable, what it's going to show me is that there's a type in there, and we want to specifically look at this type. It's a type of custom, as opposed to being a string or a label or something simple like that. Now, what that means is if I go into the type specification, you'll see that it actually references a widget called the Esri map leaflet. This is included in your update set, so you don't have to download this separately or anything like that. I want to take some time and explain what this leaflet does. I can open that up by previewing the record here, and then it'll let me go right to that widget. Now, when I look at this widget, there's basically code in here that's pulling the rendering from an API, and it's also pulling, like I said, the data set from the API. Right, so if we look at that, you'll see up here that we have one is if you are getting this, you will likely have my key in there. So this is a key on the server-side script. I put the key in the server-side script. Now you might have to go out to Esri and get your own key for this. And if you just go to developer.esri.com, they'll give you a developer key. But over time, if you move it to prod, you'll need to put your own API key in there. The other thing that's interesting with this one is I'm passing data in to my variables. So you'll see here that what I'm doing is I'm taking the latitude, the longitude, and the location name itself, and I'm passing those back. What this does is it sets the form of latitude, longitude, and location. What's interesting, these variables, latitude, longitude, and location, we're not pushing those into the public map variable set. We're actually pushing them into the public commons variable set. And it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter which one you're pushing them into. The only thing you have to know here is if you are using the public map, you'll also have to use public commons, because that's where these latitude, longitude, and location fields reside that we're populating from the map. So those two actually have to be paired together. You can use public commons alone, but you can't use public map alone in order to have them work the way that we have it designed in the template itself. Let's go back here. The map does a few things. The first thing you'll notice what it did is it did a location. So it found my location, and that's the first thing it'll do. You can also look up a location. So if I put a location in there for 10 Moss Avenue, it'll take you to that location. And then the third way that you can potentially find a location is you can drag and drop the location pin to wherever you need to. And so if I just click on this area, you'll see that it moves the pin. So you have all those options for determining which location you want to feed in to that, into those variable sets. Public common variables is the next one we'll go into, and I'll just minimize this section again. Now in this one we have a lot of different data in here, and over time I'll tell you what all of these mean. But the ones that are important right now are location, latitude, longitude. Those are the ones that we're passing from the map into this, so we don't have to specify those ourselves. And the other thing that's interesting here is we have two UI policies that I want to talk to you about. What these do is it says hide when not guessed. So what this catalog UI policy does, it says if the user is not a guest, hide the last name, the email, first name, and the phone number. I don't need that information if they're already logged in. I should have that with their profile. The other one just hides a bunch of variables that we don't really need to see, but we do need to have as part of the variable set. For example, in this one, always hide these fields. I don't need to see latitude and longitude right now. I just need the map to pass that back to me. So these are more just fields that are being held there so that I can pass information back. Same with the username. I don't need to see the username, but I do need to pass that back. And so that's what those UI policies do, is it's going to determine whether you're logged in or logged out. And then go ahead and see right now I'm logged in as the system administrator. So I don't see anything here. I don't see any variables. Now if I went and I logged out as this user, I'll go ahead and leave this page. It's going to bring me all the way back into my portal as a guest user. And if you'll remember from the earlier demonstrations, what we do here is once we click on Report Streetlight Out, it'll ask me to continue as guest. And if I continue as guest, you'll see now that this form that we have for report streetlight out, it looks different. Besides asking me to describe my problem, like it did before, it also asked me for identifying information. And all this will help me get information back to that user so that I know how to respond to them. If they don't give us their email address or something to contact them, then we cannot contact them. It's a one-way communication. They're just reporting a problem. Otherwise, we can use this downstream, and I'll show you in some of the workflows that we talk about next to get back in touch with the user and let them know the status of the issue that they logged in. So that's a little bit about variable sets. We think these will be very useful to you. One of the biggest wastes of time that I see is again and again in these public templates. So the first thing everybody does is say first name, last name, address, telephone number. That's an easy thing to go ahead and just eliminate with these variable sets. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the next demo.